Who are the people that are on this special counsel's staff? It's a diabolical web of corruption with Jack Smith at the very center of it. Let's get even time. This is Obama, Holder, Garland, Monaco, Smith. They bring on a whole team of hacks to do what it is that they want to do. And that's what's going on in the investigation of Donald Trump. Who are the people that are on this special counsel's staff? Jack Smith, this man who's trying to change the results of the election in the Republican primary and in the general election. Who is this guy? Who are his people? Well, right now, Judicial Watch has a lawsuit going because they FOIA'd that question. They want to know all the names of everybody on Jack Smith's staff. Do you know the Department of Justice right now is litigating that and blocking them? So I pulled together everything I could that's public information out there. It's a diabolical web of corruption with Jack Smith at the very center of it. First of all, let's start at the top. Merrick Garland, of course, as you know, was nominated to the Supreme Court by Obama. Well, he didn't get it. He's upset about it. Then Biden comes in. He appoints him as Attorney General of the United States. The Deputy Attorney General is somebody by the name of Lisa Monaco. Lisa Monaco has held multiple positions in the Obama administration, Obama-Biden, at the Department of Justice, at the FBI, and National Security, and so forth. So she's the Deputy Attorney General. Now she has an assistant, and he's Associate Deputy Attorney General Marshall Miller. Now, the only reason he's relevant for the purposes of this discussion, it was he who suggested to Monaco that the Attorney General, Garland, appoint Jack Smith as the special counsel. I found one article in which they bragged about this, only one. See, I had to dig. That's what I do. So how does Miller know Smith? Miller worked with Smith for many, many years in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Brooklyn. And so, according to Merrick Garland, he didn't even know who Smith was. So they appoint Jack Smith. Who's Jack Smith? Jack Smith headed the Public Integrity section of the Criminal Division from 2010 to 2015. He served in significant part under Eric Holder. Eric Holder was Attorney General, I think, from 2009 to 2016, give or take. Jack Smith oversaw the IRS targeting of the Tea Party, so he was behind that as head of the Public Integrity section. He ultimately oversaw the unsuccessful attack on former Governor, Republican Bob McDonnell, the unsuccessful attack on Bob Menendez, and he oversaw the abomination against John Edwards. I'm no fan of John Edwards, not even close, but to twist the federal election laws in such a way as to apply them to his girlfriend and his out-of-wedlock child, or she may have been pregnant at the time, is really ridiculous. So the jury there said no. Now, Jack Smith worked with FBI Director Comey. He also worked with FBI General Counsel Andrew Weissman, who you remember him from the Mueller investigation days. Because as head of the Public Integrity section, you'd be working fairly closely with the FBI because you need their agents to conduct investigations, or they would come to you with investigative activities. So they pick Jack Smith. He's in The Hague, and they bring him back because he's a hitman. So who does he hire? One of the big, right-hand men type situation that Jack Smith has is with a guy by the name of David Harbach. David Harbach worked with him. He's former special counsel, by the way, to the FBI Director James Comey. You get the gist of what's going on here? Special counsel is an appointment outside the Department of Justice to eliminate the appearance of or the reality of a conflict. So if you're going to set up a special counsel and bring in all these political hacks and all these people who are essentially under Garland, and bring them in, and he works for them, and set up your own little law firm with over 60 employees. They spent $9.1 million in the first quarter. It's an enormous amount of resources and personnel to go after Trump. It's all a ruse because it's not separate from the Department of Justice. They're even trying to hide who the staffers are. It's the same people with all these ties to Democrats and all these ties to old justice. That is the DOJ. So Harbach is one of his chief lawyers, Smith's. He was former special counsel to FBI Director James Comey, former top official who worked with Jack Smith in the public integrity section. He's shown up in the major courtroom pieces of litigation involving Trump. He prosecuted, he was the key man, Bob McDonnell, failed. John Edwards failed. And Bob Menendez failed. Now, they got McDonnell at the lower court, but what I mean by failed is the Supreme Court said, no, that's not right. He's been in the Florida courtroom last week, arguing over all kinds of things, and he was admonished by the judge down there, Judge Cannon, a few times. Jay Bratt, another one. Jay Bratt handled the initial parts of the document case. Jay Bratt actually went down to Mar-a-Lago. He was the guy who told them to put another lock on their door, looked at what was there and was given material and so forth. He's a former assistant U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C. All these guys know each other. He's been accused of extortion by attorney Stephen Woodward, who's representing the second defendant in the documents case, an aide to Donald Trump, because of his statement to Mr. Woodward, the attorney, basically saying, I know you're interested in this judgeship in Washington, D.C. It might help you. It certainly wouldn't hurt you if your client were prepared to testify against Donald Trump. That's extortion. The chief judge that's been handling all the issues related to all Trump motions about grand juries and so forth has been Beryl Howell. These two grand juries, now one shut down, that have been handling the litigation against Trump and that are controlled by Jack Smith, the president has raised executive privilege issues. The prosecution has gone, tried to take his attorney-client privilege issues away, which they succeeded in doing. Donald Trump has lost every single motion that his team has filed in this court, this Judge Howell. She's the chief judge of the district court and in charge of all the motion decisions in the court. So they go to her. Meanwhile, the government has won every single motion. And then on her last day, a few months back, her very last day before she retired, she made the decision that Donald Trump did not have privilege involving his discussions with the attorney. That she brought the crime fraud exception argument brought by the special counsel. Now, this effort to get behind the attorney-client privilege is one that Jack Smith uses all the time, and he often succeeds, but he shouldn't. And then, as a footnote to all this, because I'm not done showing you all the incestuous relationships among Democrats here. So Jay Bratt, we don't know what's happened to him. If I had been the judge, not obviously Judge Cannon in Florida, I would have said, you can leave the courtroom until this is resolved in Washington. I can't have somebody here with a cloud over their head. Raymond Hustler, former deputy director of public integrity under who? Jack Smith. He's the one who hired Harbach. Remember him? Former special counsel to FBI Director James Comey? He hired Harbach. I know this can get confusing, but if you get the general understanding and reach the conclusion that this is a very bad situation, incestuous, Democrats, and so forth, that's the bottom line. So you have Harbach, Bratt, and Hustler. These are the three main guys. Shouldn't you recuse yourself? What are you doing? But why should they? You have Julie Edelstein. She's the deputy to Bratt, chief of counter intel, and she interned for Representative Benny Thompson. And then you have Mary Dorman. Mary Dorman's another prosecutor. She clerked for Judge Beryl Howell. She clerked for the judge who was overseeing all the motions. No, she shouldn't even be involved in the case. Are there no other attorneys out there? There's a zillion attorneys they could have picked from. You've got David Harbaugh, who worked with Comey, was his special counsel for a period of time and is a hitman. You have Julie Edelstein, who worked with Benny Thompson. You have Mary Dorman, who clerked for Judge Howell. Clearly, that's gives you the whole mindset of what's going on there. And then here's one for you, too. You remember this guy Weissman, don't you, Andrew Weissman? I mentioned him earlier in the show that obviously Smith worked with him as head of public integrity, where Weissman was general counsel to the director of the FBI at the time. It was Christopher Wray who appointed Andrew Weissman as head of the Enron investigation. So you step back and you look at the people on TV and you see Andrew Weissman on there commenting on how great Jack Smith is. But you're not told about their relationship. So you watch TV and there's Eric Holder. Eric Holder has his finger in all this. Most of these are Eric Holder people. I told you about this guy, Jay Bratt, and so forth. He got a huge honor from the Department of Justice when Holder was the Attorney General. And all these people, you can see a lot of them left or switched jobs when the Trump administration was coming in. But Trump fires Comey, so few of his acolytes are very angry about that. I mean, David Harbaugh had to be angry. He was special counsel to Comey for a period of time. And he's not the only one. So it's get even time. This is Obama, Holder, Garland, Monaco, Smith. Get even time. And they bring on a whole team of hacks to do what it is that they want to do. And that's what's going on in the investigation of Donald Trump.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.